What's going on, my sensational sinners? Today we will be covering the heartbreaking and unforgettable case of Shanann Watts. This story is one I don't think I'll ever fully understand or get over. And please understand this. No victim shaming or blaming will be tolerated on this channel because I will block you. And if you want to become a part of Sensation Nation, please like this video and subscribe to the channel. Your support is greatly appreciated. Now let's get into the story. Shanann Catherine Rusak was born on January 10, 1984 in New Jersey to the parents of Frank and Sandra Rusak. Shanann also had a little brother, Frank Jr. Shanann grew up in Arlington, North Carolina. Shanann was best described growing up as a go-getter, a boss, and she was the mom of her friend group. At 18 years old, Shanann married Leonard King. They went to school together, and after she graduated, they got married. He then went on to law school, and she worked helping him get through school, but the marriage only lasted 6 years. After divorce, Shanann worked on herself inside and out, and she built her first house at the age of 25 all by herself. Kudos to her. Shanann stated building her first house by herself was one of her biggest accomplishments because she didn't come from money. In 2010, Shanann was diagnosed with lupus, and that year she also met Christopher Watts. Their first encounter was via social media. Previously, Chris sent her a Facebook request, which she denied. But later in 2010, he sent another request along with a message, and she accepted it. And a mutual friend also put in a good word for Chris, so I'm sure that helped him out as well, unfortunately. Christopher Lee Watts was born on May 16, 1985 in Spring Lake, North Carolina, to Ronnie and Cindy Watts. Chris also had an older sister, Jamie. Chris loved sports, and he was described as quiet and easygoing. Shanann was Chris's first serious relationship lasting longer than 6 months, and they were complete opposites. Shanann was outgoing while Chris was shy. After almost 2 years of dating, they decided to move to Colorado. Chris moved first, then months later, Shanann joined him, where they stayed in the basement of a family Shanann used to work for while their 5-bedroom house was getting built. November 3rd, 2012, they were married. They both found jobs at a Ford dealership where Chris was a mechanic and Shanann was a sales rep. In February 2013, Shanann found out she was pregnant. And on December 17, 2013, Bella Marie Watts was born. 2 years later, on July 17, 2015, Shanann gave birth to her second daughter, Celeste Catherine Watts. They nicknamed her Cece. That year, Chris and Shanann also filed bankruptcy. They had a combined income of about $90,000 a year and was in a tremendous amount of debt by over $400,000. But things started to look up for them. Chris found a new job as an oil field technician at Anadarko Petroleum, while Shanann worked at a local hospital as a call center rep. Her job didn't pay that well, but she wanted more. So in 2016, she found a sales job at Lavelle, where she sold healthcare supplements called Thrive, kind of like a Mary Kay or Avon. And because of her hard work, she became a top producer for the company, and along with that came some perks, like free vacation and allowances. She used Facebook as a marketing tool by sharing details about her life, pretty much like what we'll call like an influencer. But as we all know it, no one exposes the bad things on social media, always the highlight reels, and Shanann did just that. But as we all come to know it, nothing is ever perfect. In May 2018, Shanann found out she was pregnant again, and she went live on Facebook to reveal Chris's reaction. And at the time, it seemed he was happy to find out Shanann was pregnant. But as they say, sometimes things are not always as good as they seem.
We did it again. I like that shirt.
Really?
Really?
That's awesome.
Test.
I know. It just says the pink is gonna be girls.
I don't know. Just a test.
That's awesome. Guess when you want to, it happens.
In June 2018, Chris grew distant with Shanann and the girls, which was weird because Shanann and Chris had just taken a trip to San Diego, and Shanann went live to talk about the trip, and she seemed pretty happy. June 27, 2018, Shanann, Bella, and Cece went on a summer trip to North Carolina to visit some family for 6 weeks. The day before the trip, it was reported by neighbors they heard screaming and shouting coming from the Watts home. While on her trip, Shanann became worried of Chris's behavior and asked him if everything was okay. And guess what Chris does? Lie. Lie. He then became even more distant by not answering Shanann's calls and ignoring her text messages while she was away. And as if having marital problems wasn't hard enough while being pregnant, she also had issues with Christopher's mom. Now, the issues between Chris's mom and Shanann had been going on for a while, and well before Shanann and Chris were married. Chris's mom told Shanann that she didn't think that she loved her son, and because of that, Chris's parents did not attend the wedding. Now, for me, that's really bad. Like, you can at least be supportive of your son, but that just shows how stubborn that his parents are. Now, issues between adults is one thing, but during the trip, Chris's mom gave Cece ice cream containing nuts, which Cece is highly allergic to. Shanann was furious, as any mother would be. Shanann confronted Chris's mom, Cindy, for exposing Cece to the nuts. She believed that Cindy was not taking the life-threatening allergy seriously, and the confrontation led to Cindy kicking Shanann and the children out of her house. And Shanann didn't hesitate to inform Chris about the incident and voice her frustration. Chris's parents was also upset. Cece had a birthday party a week later, and they didn't even attend. I mean, the gaslighting was at an all-time high. To put your daughter-in-law out with the grandkids, I don't understand it, and that was crazy. And why not go to the baby's party? But from there, things got worse, and Chris's parents even blocked Shanann on Facebook. Petty. Now, I remember years ago when I was dating a guy, I asked my dad, how do you know when a guy's cheating? Because I kind of suspected that he was. And my dad answered by his patterns, the small changes that a man makes. The things that he used to do, he no longer does. And it may be something small, but those changes are telling you something. And in this case, Chris's patterns were changing, and his distance was loud because he was, in fact, having an affair. Chris began having an affair with the co-worker Nicole Kessinger in June 2018. They began communicating via work emails. Chris initiated the conversation, and at first Nicole Kessinger was reluctant and stated she wanted to respect herself and respect Chris's family. But somewhere down the line, those morals and values went out the window and the affair began. By the end of June, they were using the word love, and statements were made like, I'm so hooked on you. It's even reported that mid to late July, Nicole was helping Chris with finding an apartment for him and his daughters, since him and Shanann was in a process of separating, according to Chris, of course. But it's like, how do you be in the process of separating? It's like, it's either you're separated or you're not. Like, I've never heard that, like, in the process of separating. Clearly, you're not separating if you're in the process of separating, right? But Nicole bought it. But okay. On July 7, 2018, Chris' cell phone pinged on multiple routers at different restaurants. Now, for me, Shanann is out of state with the girls. His phone's pinging on restaurants. I'm sure he's with his mistress. They having date night, I guess. Meanwhile, Shanann is trying to reach Chris, and he responds to her the next day, July 8, stating he fell asleep. Now, that's the oldest one in the book. I wouldn't have fell for that, but okay, I fell asleep. Shanann replies as a concerned wife. So pretty much, Chris used this time that Shanann and the kids was away to live out his fantasy life with his mistress, Nicole Kessinger. On July 14, 2018, while Shanann and the girls were still away, Shanann tried to reach Chris numerous of times that afternoon. She called him 4 times, and all 4 of those calls went unanswered. He was on a date at a car museum with Nicole Kessinger. Now, for me, I don't know about y'all, but his weird behavior, not answering my calls, I would have probably popped up on him. I would have caught me a flight back. Because to me, that says something is up. When your behavior change, like they say, when the mouse away or the cat's away, the mouse will play. Yeah, I've been popping up. On July 18, 2018, Chris stored some semi-new photos of Nicole Kessinger into his secret calculator app, which is like an app that looks like a calculator. You put a code in and all your hidden stored photos pulls up kind of like a photo album. So he was using that app to hide his affair. Chris is also Googling vacation spots around this time as well, so he is fully taking advantage of his alone time. July 24th, 2018, Nicole Kessinger Googles, "Man I'm having an affair with says he will leave his wife." Now, she's pathetic at best, because obviously you're well aware that man has a wife. Meanwhile, on that same day, July 24th, Shanann texts Chris. But Chris was too busy searching on his phone when to say "I love you" and what do you feel when someone tells you they love you. And for him to Google that just shows his disconnect. Like he's very emotionally disconnected from anybody. Because what do you mean when somebody love you? You have a wife and you have 2 kids and you still don't know how it feels when you love someone or how to feel when they tell you they love you. But honestly, I don't think Chris loved Nicole. I think it was just strictly lust because it's not enough time to really love somebody. But I digress. And for me, if I didn't know Chris was a narcissist, that confirmed that he was a narcissist because he's kind of cold and his feelings are shut off. On July 28, 2018, Chris and Nicole Kessinger takes a trip to the Great Sand Dunes for one night. They take all kind of photos and videos, and you've guessed right. Christopher makes sure he put those videos and those photos in his secret app. On July 31st, 2018, the last week of the trip, Chris reunites with Shanann and the kids in North Carolina. And I'm sure as a wife, Shanann is probably excited. She's probably like, yeah, we're finally going to get back on track. You know, her and Chris has been distant and cold. So I'm sure she was quite hopeful. But Chris was still distant and cold. But not only with Shanann, with the kids as well. Normally the kids would be all over Chris, but because of him obviously being annoyed with them, they stay clear of him. During this time, Shanann expressed her frustration via text messages with a friend on August 2nd. She told her that Chris had only kissed her one time since he's been there, and that was only at the airport when he arrived. She said normally he would grab her butt, but he didn't that time. And it's funny to me how a woman intuition works. Like, we really pay attention to those small details. Like, I love that for us. Like, it's our own intuition trying to protect us from something. Like, it's ringing the alarm saying something's off. On the night of August 2nd, Shanann wanted to be intimate with Chris. You know, her husband that you're supposed to be intimate with? Because she hasn't seen him in weeks. Meanwhile, Chris is not even interested. She communicates that as well with her friend via text. She let her friend know that Chris has never been like this before, and to go weeks without sex, she mentioned he must be getting it from somewhere else. But little did Shanann know he really was getting it from somewhere else. Shanann also mentioned how Chris was being impatient with the kids for no reason, which is a huge red flag in my book. Because how do you be impatient and be distant with children? On August 3rd, Shanann told her friend via text that Chris told her that his weird behavior is because of his dad. He told her that he doesn't know why his dad was siding with his mom after the peanut situation. And later that night on August 3rd, Shanann texted her friend another night of silence, which I was under the impression that me and Chris was still distant. And it bothered Shanann so much, she texted her friend that she didn't even want to have the baby anymore. Imagine how sad she had to be for a mother to say that. And she also stated that she couldn't do it alone with 3 kids. For me, it sucks that Chris was distancing himself so much from her to where it even made Shanann not want the pregnancy. That night, also, pregnant Shanann had to sleep on the couch. What a man Christopher was. What a man. His mother did an amazing job to let your pregnant wife sleep on the couch. For me, I'm like, where was he sleeping? On August 4th, Shanann texted her friend that she didn't want to live a life in secret or hiding, and she didn't want to live a life where Chris feels torn. She said that day had been silent, but the kids had pretty much filled the void that her and Chris had. Later that night, on August 4th, she texted her friend that she was in bed alone for 2 hours and she had no idea where Chris was. But if I had to guess, he probably was somewhere texting or talking to his mistress. Okay. She also stated that she did not want Chris to stay with her and the girls in Colorado, and that she was going to cancel the ultrasound appointment they had to find out the gender of the baby. So Shanann was pretty much over it at this point, and good for her. Shanann also stated that she noticed Chris had took the family's picture of them and the girls off his phone. I'm guessing like it was like a screensaver or his lock screen. And guess what he replaces his family picture with? The Sand Dunes, the spot where him and Nicole Kessinger had just vacationed. On August 5th, Shanann texted her friend that her and Chris drove 3 hours in silence, and she told Chris when they get back home, he needs to find him a place, and she's putting the house on the market. And he responded with nothing. For me, I feel like Chris probably was plotting and planning right there and thinking about what he wanted to do or what he needed to do. But I love how even though Shanann didn't know that Chris was having an affair, because of his mistreatment towards her, that was enough for her to choose herself. And Shanann pretty much gave Chris an out. All he had to do was take it, and his dirty little secret probably would have remained a secret. Shanann also stated on August 5th via text to her friend that she canceled the gender reveal party and that she just wanted to sleep and cry. Shanann also mentioned moving out of state and finding a place to stay before she placed the house on the market. Shanann also mentioned when she got back home to Colorado, she was going to start selling things and even take the kids out of school to save some money. Shanann told her friend she was not going to fight alone for the marriage. And for me, why would you? Good for her. Because how you going to fight for somebody that's not fighting for you? August 6th, Chris tells Shanann that he doesn't want another baby and he likes it being just a family of 4. Now, my thing is, your wife is pregnant and you're saying you don't want another baby? It's kind of too late, player. Like, what you want her to do? But Shanann, in turn, tells Chris that she does not feel safe with him because of what he just said about the baby. And for me, once again, that's her intuition, because she definitely should not have felt safe around him for him to say something like that. August 7th, 2018, they returned home to Colorado from their trip, and Shanann texted her friend what Chris had said about the baby. But later that night, Shanann wanted to be intimate with Chris because we all know how them hormones are, okay? You pregnant, you are all over the place. She wanted to be intimate with her husband, okay? Shanann also told her friend that Chris was in the shower, but she was afraid that he was going to reject her. But her friend told her to pretty much go for it, you know? And it's crazy. You a whole married lady with children for your husband and you're pregnant and you're afraid he's going to reject you. It's just like, Chris is pathetic. So what does Chris do? He rejects her. Shanann told her friend that she was so upset by this. She woke Chris up and asked him who he's been sleeping with. And Chris denied sleeping with anyone. But we all know that that's a lie. On August 8, 2018, Shanann texted her friend and told her that Chris said that they were no longer compatible. She even said that he refused to hug her and refused couples counseling. For me, I was so bad that at that point, Shanann would have just put Chris out the house and told him it's time to go. Because at that point, you're not trying to work on nothing. You just wasting space. But as we know it, that probably wouldn't have changed the thing. But meanwhile, literally the same day, August 8, 2018, Shanann is clearly heartbroken and Nicole Kessinger is on cloud 9. She's Googling marrying your mistress. For me, it's amazing how a man can have one woman feeling like trash and the other one feeling like a treasure. But to be honest, had everything would have, Chris would have ended up getting with Nicole Kessinger, that would have wore off eventually. Because like I said, it's just purely lust. So meanwhile, Shanann assumes Chris is acting distant due to the turmoil she's having with his parents. On that same day of August 8, Chris proceeds to deactivate his Facebook page, which takes Shanann by total surprise because Chris had just agreed to go away with her so they can work on the marriage. So, they were going to plan a trip, work on the marriage, and then next thing you know, he deactivates his Facebook page. So at this point, Chris is he's on a roller coaster. At this point, Shanann probably don't know what she's going to wake up to. It's always something with him. On August 9, 2018, Shanann posted to her Facebook page a picture of a dog covered up with a sheet. And she captioned it, "Don't know what to think about this." Now, Chris, in fact, took that picture and he sent that to Shanann. And I'm happy that she posted that on Facebook so that we can see that he sent that to her. But Chris was literally sending smoke signals at this point. On August 10, 2018, Shanann leaves for a business trip with her friend and colleague, Nicole Atkinson. Not Mistress Nicole, friend Nicole, which is what I'll probably be calling her. But because of the strife in her marriage, she was reluctant to go, but Chris encouraged her that it would be best and everything would be fine. After leaving for her business trip, Shanann texts Chris that she missed and loved him so much. She stated she was excited about having a boy with him, and she thanked him for letting her hug him that morning. Now, for me, it's just sad. It's sad how positive that Shanann was trying to be, and at the end, that still didn't stop Chris from being the monster that he was. For her to have to thank him for letting me hug you, Chris is a freaking monster. That was sad. That was that. Shanann also told Chris that she left a note for him on the counter. And let me just say that note that Shanann left for Chris, it was the sweetest thing any spouse could write to their partner. But unfortunately, Chris didn't deserve those words, and he definitely didn't deserve Shanann. August 11, 2018, Shanann was on her business trip. Chris decided to take his mistress, Nicole Kessinger, out on a date. Chris told Shanann that he was going to a baseball game with coworkers and did for drinks. But the purchase at the restaurant was $60, which Shanann found to be suspicious. She asked Chris what all he ordered, and he told her salmon and beer. But when she added it all up after looking up the restaurant's menu, it did not equal the $60, which led Shanann to believe Chris was not dining alone. And also, Chris making it home at 10:30 further heightened Shanann's suspicion because he left the restaurant around 9. Now, also later, Chris did reveal when he would go out with Nicole Kessinger, he would use gift cards. But on that particular night, he had no more gift cards left. So he had to use he and Shanann's joint accounts. Even Nicole Kessinger later stated that on that night when Chris didn't use the gift cards, she felt like he was just tired of hiding and he had nothing to hide. And so she was just like, okay, he's using a credit card. And to me, it's in my personal opinion, Nicole, first off, the man is married. He's telling you he's separated, but why is he using gift cards? That doesn't ring a bell. Nicole she's too old. You're at the big age of 30. And to be so naive that this man is using gift cards and in the process of separation, August 12, 2018, Chris took Bella and Cece to a birthday party. So now I guess he's not annoyed anymore. He's been a father. Meanwhile, Shanann is talking to a friend via text. She's stating that Chris normally doesn't fight with her, that he normally just goes with the flow because he knows that she likes things done a certain way. So by now, Shanann's realizing how she could have made him feel as a man. And to me, I can see why Shanann is kind of playing back the marriage, and she's possibly finding errors in her ways. But what Chris was doing was not finding his voice like she thought he was trying to do. He was becoming a monster. And they say when a man is cheating, he becomes mean. And Chris proved that theory to be absolutely correct. Now, later that night on August 12, 2018, Shanann and her friend Nicole was in the airport waiting on their flight to head back home. Shanann decided to call Chris, which she did. Her friend Nicole stated the conversation didn't last long. Shanann came back and she was irritated at the fact that her and Chris had not spoken much during her trip, and when she called him, he started working out instead of engaging in conversation. And at that point, Shanann was so irritated she ended the conversation. And at this point, I believe that Shanann was over Chris's gaslighting and manipulation. I know she probably had enough. And even after what's crazy is even after the short conversation and how Chris acted with her, Shanann still texts Chris thanking him for watching his children while she worked. It just shows the damage control she was trying to do by trying to be nice to him. And she also asked him what vegetable he wanted with dinner the next day. And although Chris knew there was not going to be no dinner the next day, he told her what vegetable he wanted. Like, Chris is such a pretender. Like, he's just a pretender. He likes to pretend. I don't even think he even has his own personality. And it makes me furious of how nice Shanann was being to him. What I wanted her to do was curse him out and treat him like the way he was treating her, honestly. When he became distant, I wanted her to become distant as well and reciprocate that. But I'm sure with the pregnancy, the hormones, it probably was hard for her to do that, being pregnant. And it also shows by Shanann not reciprocating his bad behavior, it shows her heart placement. She couldn't reciprocate his energy, although she had reason to do that. So that shows what a nice person she really was. On August 13, 2018, Shanann was seen on her doorbell camera arriving home at 1:48 a.m. Later that morning, Shanann had a prenatal doctor's appointment scheduled for 9 a.m., but she was a no-show. Shanann's friend Nicole Atkinson attempts to make contact with Shanann to check on her and see how her doctor's appointment went. Shanann never responded. So Nicole Atkinson and her 2 sons drive to Shanann's house after getting no response from her and finding out she missed her doctor's appointment. Now, when Nicole Atkinson spoke with Chris, he told her that Shanann had took the kids on a play date. But after looking into Shanann's garage, Nicole sees that Shanann's car is inside. And at this point, Nicole is not buying the story that Chris told her. Nicole then walks to the front door to try and open it and notices that the home is locked from the inside, which she stated is out of the ordinary, so she could not get in. But while trying to get inside the home, the alarm goes off, which sends a notification to Chris's phone. And Chris tells Nicole to get away from his house. But baby, guess what? Nicole tells him that she's about to call the police. Chris tells Nicole do not call the police and that he's on his way home. At 1:37 p.m., Nicole Atkinson, friend Nicole, calls the police to do a welfare check. When the police arrive, they speak with Chris over the phone to get his approval to enter the house, and get the garage passcode. Chris told the police the passcode does not work. Finally, Chris arrives home. Now watch the video that I'm going to play for you guys. How Chris, first he gets out of the car, go to the passenger side to do only God knows what. Then he walks slow, then he runs. It's like, that shows how he puts on an act. It's like lights, camera, action, and then he just starts to run. And what's crazy is he doesn't even acknowledge Shanann's friend Nicole. And for me, I bet he probably was pissed at her because his whole plan is ruined.
I'm here. Hang on. Okay, yeah, get me on the phone. Okay, get Matt on the phone.
Scott, how you doing?
How's it going?
So this is the only vehicle she would have?
Only one that, yeah.
She would drive? Okay.
That's me. Yeah. The neighbors went and checked.
When Chris arrives, he opens the garage and he opens Shanann's car, revealing that Bella and Cece's car seats are still inside, which friend Nicole knows that Shanann would not travel with the girls without their car seats. Chris then enters the home through the garage door and closes it behind him. Now he goes in the house and he's alone in there for a little over a minute before he welcomes Nicole and the police inside. And while he's in the house, as you look at the footage, Chris doesn't say He doesn't call for the girls. He doesn't call for Shanann. You're looking for your family. You're going to say, Shanann, Chris did not do that. Once inside the home, Nicole finds Shanann's cell phone, her purse, wallet, and important medication for the girls, which Shanann never left the house without those things. The police then notices that there is no bedding on Chris and Shanann's bed. Chris tells them that after traveling, Shanann likes to wash the sheets after she has slept on them. The police then learns that Chris and Shanann's neighbor, Nate, has surveillance cameras. So they go over there to see what it captured. And the camera points directly at Chris's and Shanann's house. But it only showed Chris leaving the house. While everyone is watching the footage, Chris is obviously nervous. And you can see the worry on his face. At one point, Chris even turns his back away from the TV in order to not see the footage. Once the video is done playing, the neighbor is talking to Chris, letting him know that if someone picked Shanann and the girls up, he would have seen the car or he would have seen them walking outside to the car. Once Nate says that, Chris' body language becomes even more with her. And coincidentally, a pregnancy commercial comes on, and then Chris notifies the officer that Shanann is pregnant. So it's like, he didn't mention that before, and it's like, oh yeah, my wife's pregnant. It's just like, it's a script playing in his head, and it's just not right. Okay, the script is off. Chris is an idiot.
Yep. Well,
It's not, is it motion or is it?
event,
Okay, so it's motion.
Any motion event that happens, I get cars driving from this street, and this is him at 517. Usually park out there on the side. I just want to get everything back in. Be easier, so lugging everything out there, all the tools that I had to bring in. What else can I do with this?
My detective just showed up. So he'll probably want to talk to you. He'd probably, like I said, he might have you call at the bank and see if there's any kind of activity.
Because if there was any sort of action out there,
His camera's
I
like,
would have got it.
like
Right.
we had issues the other week when people were stealing stuff out of like garages and stuff like that, and I had parked my truck
I
up
had
here.
to park right here.
Yeah. So
you
someone,
can see if
I could
anything
see where someone tried to jimmy with a flathead screwdriver over there, and it was just like,
But if any action would have happened, any cars or anything left your house, I would
yeah,
have
it would
got it.
have been like right in that area. They should have picked. I mean, like,
Oh, it'll pick up anything coming down the street this way.
you know where that tree there too?
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
Watch, I'll show you. There's nothing on here. We've already watched that one. But like, you'll see this car.
What security system do you have?
Xfinity. Oh, you can see this car starting to drive down the street.
That ain't one.
Oh, look. Okay.
See what I'm saying? It picks up all the way down there.
That's cool.
He's next door.
Can we go?
I was talking about dispatcher. It'll be code 4.
Cause yeah, we can pick up cars coming this way. I get anything coming this way and making this turn. So, and usually at night I pick up the cars pulling a U-turn. So unless they pulled right here,
Yeah.
but I would have caught her walking out. Diesel.
You're good.
So yeah, nothing.
Nothing for the rest of the day.
No, that's it.
She's pregnant as well.
How far along?
15 weeks.
Did you go check if anything was missing around your house?
There wasn't nothing. It was like all the old blankies and stuff. And then her wedding ring was on the nightstand.
Cause she dropped her off at 1 in the morning, right?
My doorbell said 1:48. She came in.
Okay. This is her Beverly May at 1:48.
So as soon as it picks up motion, it'll like back off. Okay. I thought she.
That was the start of the video.
148.
in the morning.
I didn't pick her up going into the house though.
It didn't. And I usually pick him up when he comes walking through here. I pick him up. So it doesn't show her walking into the house. If she would have walked by, we would have saw it. That's funny.
Okay.
The other dogs. And you know it's still live because it's flagging.
How long does it typically record for?
30 seconds, I believe, at a time. But this is at 148, and then the next one I have is 105, whatever. So nothing, no cars came through, because I guarantee, with the headlights, it picks up the headlights
Oh, yeah.
automatically.
And my Vivint said that at 5:27, my garage door was left open. But that could have been the sensor as well. It says it was shut during the day, but I think when Nikki's son, he may have tried to move the door around, maybe when they were trying to get in the door, in the garage door, and it probably broke the laser there. That's because my alarm started going off.
Well, I know he said the front door he tried going in, but he had the lock
Yeah,
up,
that's for
so
the
that
kids,
set
so
it
they
off,
don't get out.
right?
And our remote on the outside doesn't work anymore. It got wet and the whole radio on the back.
So yeah, that was it.
Okay. All right, appreciate your time.
Yeah, no problem.
Thanks.
Hopefully something comes up here.
Mind if you just want to go talk to him? I'm going to get his info real quick.
He's not acting right at all.
No.
He's never fidgety, he's never rocking back and forth, and if you look, he never loads his stuff in and out of the garage ever.
Right.
And it doesn't look like he came from right here, it looks like he came from down the street. And then the other thing that doesn't make sense is why would he pull past this part? You can see him pull past. To be completely honest with you, my wife and I were kind of wondering when she was on vacation if something happened, because I've heard them full out screaming at each other at the top of their lungs, and he gets crazy.
Does he? And that's pretty recently.
Yeah. I'm guessing that's why she went and visited people, is because she wanted to get away from the situation.
Do you have your ID handy?
Yeah, I've never seen him pull back.
I've never seen him. If he loads his stuff, he normally just walks back and forth, because I get him on camera.
What does he usually load up?
All he usually has is a lunch box and a book bag, looks like a computer, and usually a water jug. That's it. But the fact that he was in here and explaining to it over and over and over,
Well, odd.
he doesn't look worried. He looks like he's trying to cover his tracks. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
And if he's loading his stuff, why isn't he walking back and forth? But I can't see what he's doing in the back of the truck because he pulled into the garage.
Yeah.
And he knows my camera's there.
Any other neighbors have cameras around here you know of?
I'm sure a bunch of them do, but not that I know of.
Okay.
You guys look around.
Yeah, I'll look at it.
But yeah,
I'll do a search here in a minute.
all these Fords kept coming up missing, so we moved in here, I put this in. And like you said, someone was breaking into it. He said that someone was breaking into his toolboxes of his truck. So I told him he could park his truck out there in case they saw something.
I know, I'm
Kinda
trying
odd.
not to.
No, I'm just saying it's kind of odd that he pulls his truck back behind my camera. The cutoff, the truck's in the garage right now. and he never backs his truck into the
That's
driveway.
what her
ever.
friend Christina was saying.
Diesel.
She's like, he never backs his truck up. Her mom said it too. She's like, he carries his stuff out from the house. He
Yep.
doesn't back his truck up.
Well, I have him on camera doing it when he does it. Because when he was parking his truck over here, the other thing was odd is while she was gone, he kept parking his truck and her car over here. And I used to see him walk out of his house right
He
here.
took the car out of the garage?
Oh, the car was parked over there for a long time, like a couple days.
This was past weekend?
No.
It was when she was gone for the 6 weeks.
Oh,
But I thought it was kind of odd that he never parked in front of here or right here. He said someone broke into his truck and he parked over here. I have no idea. Hey, he's acting so suspicious. He's normally, you can ask them, he's normally quiet, real subdued. He's over here telling you 3 times what he took out, what he did, what he did, what he did. He's very, he never talks. So the fact that he's over here blabbing his mouth makes me kind of suspicious of something.
Chris then rushes out of the neighbor's house and leaves the neighbor Nate and the officer behind. And at this point, the neighbor shares his concern of Chris's reaction to the surveillance video. After watching that video with the neighbor talking to the officer, it was weird. It's crazy how the neighbor said Chris can get crazy and that he heard Shanann and Chris yelling at each other. Meanwhile, the neighbor was genuinely concerned. It's like the neighbor was so concerned. It's like he was trying to crack the case himself. Like he could have been on the case as one of the officers. Okay, it's just to show how Chris tried to play this nice, easy, calming guy, but Nate already see and hear how he can get mean and ugly and be loud. The next day, on August 14, 2018, the FBI and CBI joined the investigation and begun mapping out Chris's movements the previous day and analyzing GPS data from Chris's work truck. Chris also conducted television interviews on that day. Now, after watching the interviews, Chris has like a dead look in his eyes. And, you know, when he talks about what he missed about the girls, he missed telling them, hey, eat your vegetables or you're not going to get dessert. It's like, that's what you miss about your girls? You miss correcting them, chastising them? That's just like me saying, you know, God forbid my child go missing and I'm saying, oh my gosh, I miss telling her, you better take out that trash. You better clean your room. It's just like, that was such a red flag. It's like, he didn't say I miss hugging them, kissing them. He missed correcting them. So that just shows where his placement was with the girls at that time. And you can also visibly see Chris laughing, and he was pretty much hugging himself, which they're saying that's a way to calm himself down. When I watch videos about body language, they're saying he was hugging himself to calm himself down because he was really nervous.
Do you think she just took off? Do you think?
I mean, right now I don't even want to just like throw anything out there. Like, I hope that she's somewhere safe right now and with the kids. But I mean, could she just taken off? I don't know. But if somebody has her and they're not safe, like, I want them back now. Like that's what's in my head. Like, if they're safe right now, they're gonna come back. But if they're not safe right now, that's the not knowing part. Like, if they're not safe, last night I had every light in the house on. I was hoping that I would just ran over by the kids running in the door and just like barrel rushing me, but it didn't happen. And it was just a traumatic night trying to be here.
I'm gonna ask some kind of tough questions about your relationship with your kids.
My kids are my life. I mean, those smiles light up my life. And this, like, I mean, last night, like, during, like, when they usually eat dinner, it was just like, I miss them. Like, I mean, I miss telling them, hey, you got to eat that or you're not going to get your dessert, and just like, you're not going to get your snack after. I miss that. Like, I miss them, cuddle up on their couches. They have like a Minnie Mouse couch and a Sophia couch that they cuddle up on and watch, Bubble Guppies or something. And it was just like, it was tearing me apart last night, and I needed that. I needed that last night. And for nobody to be here last night and to go into their rooms and know that I wasn't going to turn the rain machines on. And I know that I wasn't going to turn their monitor on. I know I wasn't going to kiss them to bed tonight. It was that's why last night was just horrible. I couldn't do it. I want everybody to just come home. Like wherever they're at, come home. That's what.
Chris also sat down with the FBI for 3 hours later that evening to discuss his timeline of events.
It's like something like, if it's just conversations or if it's just like, it's not attractiveness at all. Like, it's just a connection that isn't there. Like, when you can like look at someone or just like put your forehead to their forehead and you just like hold them and you know what each other's thinking. That's a connection. I didn't have that connection anymore.
Okay. What do I do to help you walk out of this room and not look like the person who's responsible?
You have to trust me that when I tell you that these two beautiful girls right here, I did nothing to them, and to my beautiful wife, I did nothing to her. Like, you have to trust me and believe me. Like, I know you don't know me as a person. You've known me for like 2.5, 3 hours, and I don't know what your opinion is, but you have to realize that these two beautiful girls right here and my wife, I had nothing to do with the disappearance. Like, they vanished, they were taken, someone has taken them, they're safe somewhere, we don't know. I had nothing to do with this act of like evil cruelty, whatever has happened here. Because my love for these two girls and my wife, like, I don't want anything to happen to them. I've never wanted anything to happen to them. No matter if me and my wife separate or not, or divorce or anything, I never wish harm on anybody, on a human being in general.
Okay.
Like, just seeing that picture, like, I need them, I want them just to run through that front door and just grab me, or just just tackle me, knock me to the floor, bust my head up, I don't care. The amount of love I have for my family is exponential, and it's never gonna die. And I want them back.
Okay.
I have to have them back.
There's nothing I can say to a room full of police officers that's going to convince them that you have nothing to do with this. You know what they think.
I know what all they call it. Yeah.
Here's a guy who didn't call 911, who woke his wife up at a ridiculous hour because she was so guilty about something that he had to get it off his chest and say, I don't love you anymore, I'm leaving you. That didn't go well. Okay, so what happened?
She told me she wanted me to wake her up before I left. That's why I didn't just wake her up, like, just to tell her this. Like, I woke her up. That's what she wanted to do, and we talked. Like, usually at 4 a.m. I wake up, I go down and work out. This day, I wanted to talk to her about this. I love these girls. I love these girls so much. And this picture right here, Celeste and Bella, those are my life. I helped make those kids. There's nothing in my life that means more to me than these kids. Nothing. Kids, that's your life. That's your lifeline. That's everything. Like, you make kids, they come first before anything. Kids, spouse, family. That's what it's always been.
Nothing you've told me tonight makes sense. Nothing you've told me tonight feels like the truth. Can we start over? Sure.
During the interview, Chris discussed his family in past tense, and he makes a statement saying, I would never do this to my wife and kids. But so far, nothing has been done to them. They're just missing. So that right there is a red flag in itself, because obviously Chris knows something that the investigators does not know. And at one point, the agent asked Chris, was he having an affair? And Chris flat out denied it. But little does Chris know, Nicole Kessinger contacted the police that day and informed them of the affair. Once Chris' interview was over, he agreed to come back the next day and do a polygraph. On August 15, 2018, Chris returns back to the police station with his dad to do the polygraph test, which Chris fails the polygraph test badly. And at this point, the agents let Chris know it's time to come clean, no more games. Like, the agent was like, this is where the rubber meets the road, okay? Now, as soon as the agent mentions Chris' lack of emotion, now all of a sudden Chris wants to cry and show emotions. And at that point, I know them agents just was becoming annoyed with him because it's like he's such a pretender. So after asking Chris to tell the truth over and over, he still doesn't come clean about what happened to Shanann and the girls. But he does admit to the affair. So that's when one of the agents pretty much serves Chris a scenario as to what may have happened to Shanann and the girls, which I found that strategy to be very smart and strategic.
I'm going to pay for what I did, and I'm going to tell you what I did, and I'm going to be honest about it.
Chris, we can keep talking to you once we find these girls, okay? And once we find these girls and your wife, right? No matter how we find them, no matter what condition they're in, we can keep talking to you and you can tell us, guys, it's not as bad as it looks. And you can say, let me tell you what happened. I was never comfortable with you, Graham, or with you, Tam. I wasn't comfortable yet, but now that everything's known, now that these girls are found and Shanann's found, however they're found, it's okay. We can keep talking to you. Okay?
Chris, did Shanann do something to them?
No, I don't know.
I'm serious.
I have no clue.
No, you would have known, because they didn't leave the house. Did Shanann do something to them, and then did you feel like you had to do something to Shanann?
No, they were at the house when I left. They were there.
They weren't there. They didn't leave. They vanished.
They were
The
there.
only way they could have left is in your truck.
There's no way, because, like, I didn't just throw them in my truck.
You know your truck has GPS,
Yes.
right?
Yes.
Because you told your boss, like,
Yeah.
hey, I'm going through separation, or maybe staying
Yeah.
at a friend's house, whatever. You know that thing pings every 10 seconds?
Yep.
So we will know
You can't turn
exactly
it off.
I know.
And
where
your-
you went.
And your company's giving that to us.
I know.
Okay. Are we not asking the right questions, Chris?
No, you're asking all the questions.
What are we not asking you right? What are we doing wrong?
You're not doing anything wrong.
Did Shanann do something?
If she did anything to these kids, we both love them with all our hearts. There's no way.
It could have been an accident. Something happened in the house that you know about. You failed the polygraph test, Chris. This is not about, did you leave and your wife vanished and you didn't know anything about it. That was not what you were asked, okay?
Okay.
We know that something happened to all three of them. But I want to know, did something happen to these baby girls first that you had to take into your own hands and deal with?
You had to clean it up for Shanann.
Chris, you gotta tell us. There's something that happened to these baby girls.
Chris takes the bait, which is good because that gets them closer to the truth. So the agent then, so at this point, the officer gives Chris a scenario and Chris takes it, and then Chris states he want to talk to his dad. So at this point, the agents exit the room and Chris' dad enters the interrogation room. Chris then admits the scenario that one of the agents planted. And also I noticed that when Chris tells his dad about the affair, his dad does not seem surprised. He seems pretty calm to me. So it's leading me to believe that Chris' dad was well aware that his son was having an affair. And maybe because the parents did not like Shanann, they probably was okay with it. But that's just my own personal opinion because he was just way too calm for me. So after Chris speaks with his dad tells Chris that we need to get an attorney. But I swear within 10 seconds of dad mentioning an attorney, the agents walks in the room. At this point, the agents are really good. Like they're rubbing Chris's bag. They're like buttering him up. And so once they sit down, Chris admits to unaliving Shanann, but he claims he only unalived Shanann because Shanann had unalived the girls by strangling them. And at this point, the agents have their confession and they want to know where the bodies are. Now, remember earlier I mentioned Shanann posting a picture of a doll covered by a sheet to her Facebook page. Chris's dad mentioned that post to the agent. Chris's dad wanted to believe his son so bad, but he didn't know that Chris took that picture and sent it to Shanann. So his dad is in there like, yeah, you know, she did post this weird picture, and it's just like, you want to believe that so bad, but Chris did it. Your narcissistic son did it. So then the agent take Chris's dad to a separate room, and they ask him about Chris and Shanann's relationship. And the dad just talked so badly about Shanann. But I'm sure a lot of the stuff that he feels about Shanann, it probably comes from Chris. Like, I swear, when a person is having problems with their in-laws, the big percentage is that because the spouse is feeding negative information to the parents. Because how can you know somebody so well when you don't even stay with them? Like, they stay in two different states. So you don't really know Shanann like you think you do. Meanwhile, the agent showed Chris a picture of his work site, Survey 319, for him to locate the exact location of the bodies. Chris wrapped Shanann in their bed sheet and buried her in a shallow grave. He then placed his two girls in two separate 20-foot oil tanks. And then what blew my mind was one of the agents suggested that one of Chris's co-workers go out to the location and help them locate the bodies. And Chris was just like, oh no, you know, they think I'm a good guy. It's just like your kids and your wife thought you were a good guy. And it's like, it's crazy how he's worried about the opinions of his co-workers and not his family. His co-workers held more weight, which shows me that Chris literally was playing a role. That's crazy how you can go out and be the best man you can be at work, but then you're plotting and planning your family demise. But ultimately that night, Chris still denied unaliving Bella and CC, which the detectives did not believe. So they tried to get Chris to come clean, but he refused. Chris is officially arrested and charged with 5 counts of murder in the first degree, 1 count of unlawful termination of a pregnancy, and 3 counts of tampering with the deceased human body. Chris is also fired from his position at Anadarko Petroleum. During this time, the babysitter that watched Bella and CC on August 11, 2018, while Chris was on his date with his mistress, Nicole, she also did an interview with the police. She said that she watched the kids from 4:30 to 10:30. She stated Chris didn't check on those girls at all. Meanwhile, Shanann did. She stated Chris took a picture of the girls and sent it to Shanann, and Shanann later posted it that night to Facebook. She said that the kids seemed normal, really talkative. She said Chris came home late that night. He was supposed to be home by 10, but he made it there by 10:30. She said he told her that he was late because of traffic, but we all know that's not true. He was late because he was out with their mistress. She said that her mom was a little upset because her mom was outside waiting for him to come home. But she said Chris came, he paid her, and that was pretty much the end of the night. Now, personally, I know, mothers are nurturers. That's how we are. But Shanann called and checked on her girls, and it's kind of pathetic that Chris was out for 6 whole hours and he never called to check on his girls. But that just shows how he's like detached. It's like detachment at its best. Like when he's with his mistress, no one else matters. Nothing else matters. And that's why they always say never be with an insecure man, because the first time they get attention that they're not used to, they gone. On August 15, 2018, same day of Chris' arrest, Nicole Kessinger did a police interview. Nicole claimed she didn't know Shanann was pregnant, and she didn't know of the crimes, but that didn't stop people from forming their own opinion of Nicole, and Nicole's actions didn't help clear her name. Based on Nicole Kessinger's online search history, after the crimes were committed, she looked up Amber Frey and how much money Amber Frey made off of the Scott Peterson's case. Now, if you're unfamiliar with the Scott Peterson's case, then you must be under a rock. And allegedly, as early as 2017, Nicole also searched Shanann and Chris Watts' name, which according to the timeline, that's way before the affair even begun or she even met Chris. That's a red flag, major red flag, but that is alleged. And to put the cherry on top of the cake, Nicole, she also searched phrases like marrying a mistress, can cops trace text messages, and did people hate Amber Fry? Like, for me, Nicole is like a total bonehead at this point. It's like, what do you mean that people hate Amber Fry? Like, girl. Nicole also deleted the texts, pictures, and call logs that she had with Chris, trying to do what she called damage control. Messages was even revealed where Nicole Kessinger was messaging a friend, telling her friend how Chris gave her the best sex of her life and how he loved to eat you know what. In the interview, the cops asked Nicole if she ever mentioned being uncomfortable with Chris being a dad or having kids. She denied it. But it was revealed that she did text a friend that she feels like she would always be second place to his kids, and him having kids is kind of like he's been there, done that, and she never has. She doesn't have any kids. So honestly, for me, I believe that Nicole probably did insinuate that. For her to text that to her friend, I believe she did insinuate that to Chris, in my own personal opinion. On August 16, 2018, the bodies of Shanann and the girls were recovered. August 24th, 2018, Chris was scheduled to appear in court for a HOA lawsuit, which was just 11 days after the annihilation of his family. The HOA Association was suing Chris and Shanann for $1,533.80 in unpaid dues and legal fees. At the time of the crime, Shanann and Chris was more than $70,000 in debt. On November 6th, 2018, Chris entered into a plea deal. Chris pleaded guilty to 9 charges. 5 counts of first-degree murder for Shanann, Bella, and Cece. And 2 counts was for the girls due to them not being at the age of 12, and Chris was put in a position of trust. He was also charged with 1 count of unlawful termination of a pregnancy for baby Nico, and 3 counts of unlawful tampering with the deceased human body. Chris avoided the death penalty by pleading guilty. Chris received 5 life sentences without the possibility of parole, and they're to be served concurrently. On November 19, 2018, Shanann's parents, Frank and Sandra Rusek, filed a wrongful death lawsuit against Christopher. November 2018, Chris's mom does an interview where she states she couldn't believe that was happening to him. And it's like, happening to him? What's happening to him? Nothing has happened to him. He has did something. So I'm like, he's where he needs to be. She also said that Chris and Shanann had very little marital issues that she knew of. She also states that Chris was always there for Shanann, and he would be nervous, and whenever Shanann needed something, Chris would not walk, he would run to get it done. And it's just like you jealous. You want him to run and get it done for you. The interviewer asked Chris' mom if she believed Chris loved Shanann, and the mom stated that she believed that he loved Shanann at first, and that's something for a mother to say. She said when Chris informed her that Shanann and the girls was missing, she said she was not worried because she said only her husband had drove to Colorado out of concern for Shanann and the girls. And in my opinion, that shows that his mother may have even hated Shanann, because to me that's heartless. Like, to not travel and check to see what Shanann and your granddaughters were, and to not even be there for your son to be supportive to him. But his mom states that Chris told her to stay behind. Now also in the interview, eventually Cindy does states that she believed that Chris committed the unaliving, but then she states she wants somebody to defend him. and if he didn't commit the unaliving of the girls. So it seems like she's still in denial, not really much accountability on Chris's behalf. She says it's hard for her to believe that Chris would do something to the girls because he loved the girls so much, which confuses me because she states in the interview that she would visit Chris and Shanann twice a year. So to me, you wasn't there to observe the changes that Chris was having in his temperament towards those girls. Because just like you said, Chris loved Shanann at first and he fell out of love with her. He could have very well done that with his daughter, because clearly from the evidence, that's what happened by his temperament with those girls. So then Chris's mom, Cindy, states if he did it, he did a horrible thing. I mean, Chris knew where the bodies was. Obviously, you may not think he did everything, but he did something because he knew where the bodies were. So that's a horrible thing in itself. She said nothing good about Shanann, which I'm not surprised, but that interview was just horrible. I don't think she should have done it. She should have just stayed quiet, if you ask me. Now, due to safety concerns, Chris was transferred on December 4th, 2018 to a maximum security prison in Wisconsin. Not sure why they cared to protect him, but okay. February 18, 2019, Chris Watts does his first official interview after his conviction, where he gave details about what happened the morning of the crime. Chris stated Shanann made it home from her trip, and he felt as though Shanann knew he was having an affair because of the transaction that was made on the account. He said he felt her get into the bed, and she started to rub on him, and they were intimate. Now, for me, I don't know if I believe Chris. He's a compulsive liar. It's like you saying that you felt as though she knew about the affair. Why would she be intimate with you if she knew about the affair? So I believe that that's a lie. That was just his guilty conscience speaking. But then he continues to say he woke up later that morning and he told Shanann that he didn't think the marriage was going to work anymore. And once again, there goes Chris, the beta male. What do you, like, you told her you didn't think it was going to work. It's just like, is it going to work or not? Stand on it. Like, Chris is definitely a beta male. Not only from his actions, but just who he is. It's since birth. Beta. So Chris continues to add that Shanann then tells him that I knew it was somebody else. And even then, Chris said he still did not admit to the affair. And at that point, I'm sure Shanann was furious. I mean, who would be? She's been gaslit and manipulated for months. So Chris then states that Shanann threatens him and tells him that he's never going to see the kids again. And she told Chris to get off of her, which means Chris climbed on top of her. It's like why would you climb on top of her just to tell her that you think the marriage was not going to work? So for me, he already knew what he was going to do next. Chris also admitted in the interview that if he didn't meet Nicole Kessinger, he probably wouldn't have thought that his marriage was so bad. Chris then admitted that right before he strangled Shanann, he told her that he did not love her anymore, which I find to be just right out disgusting. Chris also later admitted that on July 31st, 2018, when he visited the girls and Shanann on, their trip that they took for the summer, he stated that on the first night when he joined them, Shanann had complained of a headache, and Chris gave her what he told her was pain medication. It was in fact some narcotics to end her pregnancy. Chris stated that he thought if he ended her pregnancy, it would have been easier to leave her, but that didn't work. He said Shanann vomited most of the night, and he stated he didn't help her, and to be honest, Chris didn't even care. Now, also, Chris' timeline, the morning of the crimes, is also revealed. After the annihilation of his family and disposal of the bodies, Chris searched the 4-star top secret Aspen hotels, which I believe he looked up those hotels to cancel the romantic trip that Shanann had planned for them, because that's where the trip was, in the Aspens. He also contacted the kids' school to unenroll them. And it's like at this point, they're not even reported missing and you're unenrolling them from school. Like, that screams guilty. Because what he told everybody was his family was home when he left. So why unenroll the girls? Like, it didn't make sense. Like, eventually Chris' lives was going to catch up to him one way or another. And that morning, Chris also contacted the realtor to place their house on the market. And on that same day, the realtor is in a group message with Chris and Shanann, and they're talking about selling the house. And the realtor questions why Shanann had not responded to any of the messages. Chris lets the realtor know that Shanann hadn't been around all day, and it was very odd. And for me, I bet that realtor was like, so your wife ain't been around, she's MIA, and you're trying to sell the house? Like, I'm sure that was weird. That morning, Chris also looks up lyrics to a song by Metallica called Battery. He stated that Nicole Kessinger likes that song and wanted him to listen to the lyrics so they could discuss later what they meant. Some of the lyrics states in that song, cannot kill the battery, cannot kill the family. He even texts, and for me, it's like, that's weird. Nicole tells you y'all going to discuss the lyrics to that song later. Okay. Chris even texts Nicole Kessinger that morning. Not sure what they text about, but some say it was them discussing their future. In November 2019, Shanann parents won the wrongful death lawsuit, and the judge ordered Chris to pay $6 million to Shanann's parents. The judgment included $1 million for each unaliving and $3 million for the emotional pain and suffering. While in prison, Chris now refers to his mistress, Nicole Kessinger, as a wicked woman and a Jezebel spirit. He blames her for his actions and why he's in prison. He stated he felt misled by Nicole. And in my opinion, Chris is such a beta male. You say Shanann was controlling you, so you find another woman that controlled you? Maybe you're just weak and easily controlled. And no one can make you do anything. And I believe Nicole Kessinger And for me, I believe Nicole Kessinger is not an innocent woman at all. She's actually pathetic. But Chris took it upon himself to end the future of his family. And with all the evidence that has been presented to this day, some may believe that Nicole Kessinger helped Chris with ending his family. Somehow the police refuses to investigate her further. But I don't know. Maybe as time goes on, they may investigate her. I don't know. And one of the sad things about this case is, even present date 2026, people victim shame Shanann. They talk about her outgoing personality and claim she overshares on social media. They say Chris didn't want to be online. He didn't want to be on camera. And for me, even to this day, I don't see nowhere documented where Chris told Shanann, I don't want to be on camera. Do your thing, but leave me out of it. So although he does seem uncomfortable, he still did it. Probably as a compromise. In relationships, that happens. But Chris is a grown adult. He could have communicated that. And that doesn't excuse what has been done. 3 kids and a mother is unalived because Chris didn't want to be on Facebook Live? That doesn't sound right. Not to me. I'm sure not to you. Shanann was a gift to this world, and thank God she did document her life, because now she leaves a lasting legacy for all to see, her beautiful personality and the beautiful Cece and Bella. Also, I want to add, when Shanann dated Chris, she had a beautiful big house with beautiful furniture and great taste. Chris married her that way. You can't marry someone and then try to change who they are. Shanann was always too good for him. He couldn't afford her. So instead, he pretended that he could. And when he was tired of pretending, it's unfortunate that he chose to end things like a coward. And he is exactly where he needs to be. Although, if it was up to me, he wouldn't be here either. But Narusek showed Chris mercy, although he showed Shanann, Bella, Cece, and Nico none. Rest in peace to Shanann, Bella, Cece, and Nico. And until next time, my sensational sinners, stay safe out there. And please don't forget to like this video and join Sin Nation by subscribing to the channel. And as always, pour me some wine. I'm watching true crime. Peace.